Today, I almost got betrayed by my best friend. She lied to me over a guy. Let's officially listen to today's werewolf story. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1 Obsession. Isn't he just so fucking sexy? My best friend Carly squealed from beside me. I looked over and saw Daniel Benson standing at the end of the hall with two of his friends. Jeremy, who was to his left, and Lucas, who was to his right. She's been crushing on him since 10th grade, making it 2 years in a row now. Why don't you go and tell him that? I say as I look at her and am amused. This being the millionth time we've had this conversation. She yelled back. Don't be an idiot, Lauren. I can't just tell him that. I smirked as I said, besides, don't you think Jeremy is way hotter? She gasped exaggerated lie before saying, how dare you compare that godly being to that hideous rat? I sighed and said disappointed lie. What did I tell you about calling people rats? Not to do it, she said, sounding like a child who just got scolded by their parent. Which is kind of what's going on right now. Carly began crushing on him after he helped her pick up her books when she tripped on her own feet. It was like a scene out of a cheesy romance movie, but they haven't had any other interaction since. She's just been watching him from a distance. But maybe that's for the best. Archie's a werewolf, so Archie's going to find his mate soon enough. It'll be hard on Carly, but that's the way things are. All werewolves can find their mates after they turn 18. Speaking of mates, it's almost my turn to find mine. When I was little, I dreamed about finding my mate. I used to think that having a mate was the best thing in the world. I thought it was going to be like those princess movies with the princess and they end up living happily ever after. Now that I think about it, I feel like cringing. I was so naive back then. Lauren, did you not hear the bell ring? Let's go to class. Carly yelled as she pulled my arm, dragging me to our first period. When we entered the class, I took my seat next to Carly. We had English, which was one of the only subjects I liked. The main reason I this class is because we basically just read the whole period. To our agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. We do have to write an essay about the book, but since I enjoy the books it's not so hard. Our teacher, Mr. Castle, began speaking. He gave us our instructions, then went to sit at his desk to use his computer. I doubt he was doing any work. He was either playing games or watching porn. I opened my copy of Animal Farm, which was the book we were currently reading. We were to finish it by next week and have our essay turned in. I continued where I last left off. On chapter 8. I hardly got any reading done before Carly started bugging me. Lauren, I'm so bored and we've only been here for like 10 minutes. We have block schedule, so our classes were around 2 hours long. On Mondays and Wednesdays we have odd classes and on Tuesdays we have even classes. Then, on Fridays we have all classes, so the periods only last around 50 minutes. Why don't you start reading your book instead of complaining? I ask, annoyed. I don't get it at all. Why are the animals talking? Why are the pigs the smart ones? She asks, looking at me with pure confusion. I began explaining to Carly. The animals are meant to represent people during the Russian Revolution. You see, when, stop. You're gonna make my brain hurt. For Pete's sake. This is English class, not fucking history. She yelled, and I'm pretty sure it was loud enough for everyone to hear. A few heads turned our way, then went back to minding their own business. Just read the damn book. Carly, if you don't, I'm gonna tell your mom you're failing English. I say as I turn back to my book. No please. Don't tell my mom. She'll give me that look. I hate it when she does that. It always makes me scared that she's gonna come after me and strangle me. Then finish your work. This is why you're failing. I knew she was doing that adorable pout of hers, but I won't give in. It has no effect on me anymore. I've gotten better at handling her. She used to be way out of control, but now you could say I've got the bone to tame the dog. Not that I'm calling her a dog or anything, although she does sometimes act like one. I was pulled out of my thoughts when I heard my name whispered from the back of the classroom. I scanned the back of the classroom, and my eyes met Daniel's. My heart jumped when my eyes met his beautiful blue eyes, which were an unusually light shade of blue. They went perfectly with his sharp features. His jawline was brought out well, with a refined nose hooked over deliciously perfect lips that naturally— Wait, did I just use perfect to describe him? Gee, what's wrong with me? He must be known. I overheard him because he quickly looked away and began reading his book. I looked away too and pretended to read my book. I quickly glanced at him a while later and saw him staring at the back of Carly's head, lost in thought. Wait, what? Was he nervous because he thought I caught him staring at Carly? Was he staring at her and not at me? Oh, I feel stupid now, thinking he was looking at me. That made me a little sad. But I ignored the feeling. Carly will be excited when I tell her I caught him staring at her. She'll be happy to hear her obsession was so one-sided. Carly and I sat down at our usual table with our nasty school lunches. I swear, every day it gets worse. I poked the packaged, expired beans with my plastic fork and gagged. A horrendous smell was coming out through the bag, even though it was closed. I pushed it aside and looked at Carly, who was content to lie eating her nasty expired beans. She literally ate anything. One time, she found a dirty, half-eaten gummy worm on the floor and ate it. She worries me sometimes. Nathan joined us at the table. She's been our friend since last year. There's not much of a backstory to it. He transferred to our high school during the middle of 11th grade. He was lonely for the first few days, so we took him in. Now HE's actually pretty popular. HE's in a lot of clubs, and HE's on the school's soccer team. He decided to stick with us, even after he became popular. And I'm happy he did. He can be fun to push around sometimes. HE's one of the few people who can handle Carly. Oh, and HE's also a human, just like Carly. Hey Horen. Hey calories, he said casually as he took a seat next to me. Hey Gathan, Carly and I said as he pulled out his lungbox from his backpack. When he opened his lungbox, a heavenly smell made its way to my nose. Carly and I both snapped our heads in his direction. Is that, I started, your mom's homemade pizza? Carly yelled out, loud enough for the whole cafeteria to hear. Iki, he said cheerfully as we took a bite right in front of us. Some drool dripped from Carly's mouth and landed on the table. Close your mouth. I got a fly-in, he said as he took another bite of his delicious-looking pizza. I'm gonna fucking strangle you, Carly said as she started running towards Nathan. He immediately stood up and began to run from Carly. I watched as the two chased each other around the cafeteria, causing everyone to look up and watch them in amusement, some even pulling their phones out to record. I looked over to Nate's lunch. Her pizza smells so good, and it looks so good too. I grabbed the pizza he had taken a few bites out of and finished it. They were too distracted chasing each other around they didn't notice. Then, I grabbed his second slice and finished that one too. I grabbed the third slice, and just as I was about to take a bite, Carly yells from across the cafeteria. Gathan, look, that asshole N is eating all the pizza. They both start running towards me, and I immediately stand up and run out, taking the last slice with me of course. I ran out the cafeteria while eating the pizza. After finishing the last bite, I come to a stop and look behind me. Gathan and calories are nowhere to be seen. I got away with it. Or maybe not. I hear footsteps approaching me quickly, and I turn around to see Gathan running towards me. Before I could run, he jumps at me and tackles me, dropping me to the floor. I landed on my back, and Nate was holding me down. You ate my pizza, he cried out. I reached up and patted his head. Oh, Gathan, you should not have left me alone with your pizza. How could I resist? I say teasingly with a smirk on my face. He glared at me and said, you're buying me chips tomorrow. I heard someone running towards us from where Nate came from. Carly appeared in front of us, panting as if she just ran a marathon. She placed her hands on her knees and caught her breath. Geez. Day then. What are they feeding you? Those are some fast legs you got there, buddy. When she looked up at us, her eyes wide and in shock. EWWW, did I just walk in on you guys making out? What no? I say as I push Nate off and sit next to him. My heart almost stops when I see Daniel walking down the hall with his friends. His eyes are glued onto me as he walks, glaring at me the whole time. He looked like he wanted to kill someone. Most likely me. Was he pissed because I found out that he likes Carly? I looked at his friends, and Jeremy was smirking while Lucas was patting Daniel's back. We all remained quiet while they walked by. Even Nathan. When they finally exited the hall, we all sighed, letting out the breath we were holding in. Nate stood up and reached out his hand to help me up. I took it, and he pulled me up. Why was he looking at you like he wanted to kill you? Nate asked with a confused look on his face. Probably because I know something he doesn't want me to know, I replied as I looked at Carly. She was still looking at the exit they left through, as if she was waiting for him to come back. What? Seriously? Tell us, Nate said excitedly, ready to gossip. Well, I caught him staring at Carly during first period. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Carly's head immediately snapped from the exit to me. Her eyes revealed a hint of surprise, disbelief, and happiness all at the same time. No way. Are you serious? She yelled as she ran up to me and grabbed my shoulders. I nodded, and she squealed. My wolf Alex was joyous seeing Carly so happy, but at the same time she was a little sad. I didn't exactly know why, but I decided not to ask her about it. She probably didn't know why either. The bell rang, and we ran back to the cafeteria to get our stuff before reluctantly parting ways. Except for me and Nate, we had history together. I noticed how joyous and giddy Carly was. She must be happy, knowing that Daniel was secretly watching her. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbe, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. That sounds a bit creepy now that I think about it. I mentally prepared myself for history before entering the class with Nate. This was going to be a long 2 hours. The bell rang and everyone ran out before Mr. JNL could tell us. The bell doesn't dismiss you. I do. Nate and I found Carly outside. We headed to the parking lot, where Carly and Nate had their cars parked. I rode with Carly, since we lived a few houses down from each other while Nate lived on the other side of town. We said our goodbyes to Nate and hopped into Carly's car. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Carly's car. Doesn't that sound weird? After a 10-minute drive with loud music and horrible singing, we arrived at my house. Carly pulled over and I got out, closing the door behind me. Bye, Carly. See you tomorrow, I said while waving. See ya, Horen, she said and drove off. I turned and faced my house. I immediately felt uneasy and anxious. Alex growled angrily as she remembered what we had to go through every day. I reluctantly entered the house and was greeted by a drunk Raphael. After both of my parents died when I was 11, I was left in his care since everyone thought he was best suited to take care of me, and I agreed at the time. Raphael was my mom's adoptive brother. He was always nice to me and would play with me, even if I wanted him to play dolls with me. Whenever I accidentally scraped my knee or cried because I fell, he would buy me ice cream and find a way to make me laugh. He was young when he started taking care of me, only 21 years old. After he was rejected by his mate when he was 23, he started acting coldly. Most people were surprised he survived after being rejected by his mate, but I know he would have preferred not to. After I closed the front door, he began yelling, "Where the fuck have you been? I need you to come and clean up the broken glass in the kitchen. I'm not your fucking maid. Clean up your own mess." To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I yelled, feeling my anger rising already. What did you just fucking say to me? He started running to me. I immediately ran up the stairs and into my room, scared of what he might do to me this time. I slammed the door behind me and locked it. Open this door right now. You bitch, he commanded as he pounded on the door. He gave up after a while, and I heard him angrily go down the stairs. I sighed in relief and threw myself onto my bed. Achius made my life a living hell. I hated him so much. I don't think anything could ever make me forgive him. Chapter to the Rose family. I awoke to the sound of a girl moaning very loudly. Don't tell me Raphael has another girl over again. And why did he have to bring her so early? It's fucking 6 in the morning. I sighed and threw the covers off of me. I'm going to go shower. I won't be able to sleep while HE is fucking some hoe in the other room anyway. I entered the bathroom and made sure to lock the door. I started the shower and took off all my clothes before getting in. When I got in, the water was way too hot and I quickly turned the knob, making it colder. Then, it was too cold and I shivered as I turned the knob slightly, making it a little bit hotter. There we go. Once I finished 10 minutes later, I got out and wrapped a towel around myself. As I was about to start getting dressed, I heard the door unlock. Raphael entered, putting the key into his pocket. What the fuck? Get out! I yelled as I tried to cover as much of my body as I could. He smirked as he looked me up and down. I felt so disgusted and grossed out. He walked closer to me, and I stepped back. When my back hit the sink, he took the chance to attack. He tried to forcefully take off my towel, but I grabbed onto it tightly. No, stop. I yelled as tears started to form behind my eyes. He raised his hand and before I could react, he slapped me. My cheek burned and I knew it was turning red. But I was gonna let that stop me. I continued to struggle, and he raised his hand again. This time in a fist. He was going to punch me. I attempted to kick him where the sun don't shine, but he caught my leg and pulled it, causing me to slip onto the floor. I yelped in pain, but he didn't care that I was hurt. He climbed on top of me and looked at me with lustful eyes. My wolf Alex was beyond pissed. Let me out, she growled. I can't. Whenever I do, you always lose control. Lauren, let me out now, was all I could say. I can't let her take over. Last time, it didn't end so well. Someone ended up dying. I don't want another accident like that. Even if it was Raphael. Raphael placed his hand on my thigh and slowly began to move his hand up. He was about to move his hand under my towel, but I caught his hand before he could. Stop. Why don't you go back to your little hoe in your room? He chuckled and asked, Are you jealous, sweetie? In your dreams? While he was distracted, I kicked him. You know where? He grunted and fell over in pain. While he was down, I picked up my head ryer and smacked him in the head with it. He stopped moving, so I assumed he was unconscious. His head was bleeding slightly, and I started to panic. No way. Did I kill him? And with a head ryer. I checked his pulse and sighed in relief when I felt the quick movements against his neck. I hated him, but I didn't want him dead. I ran back to my room and quickly changed into the first thing I found. I had dark grey sweatpants and an oversized hoodie on. I threw my backpack over my shoulder and ran down the stairs and out of the house. I checked the time. 6:47. It was too early to go to school. Well, I guess I'm going to Carly's house. I walked down a few houses and arrived within 6 minutes. I passed her front door and went to her backyard, who still uses doors anyways. I climbed the tree next to her window and jumped in through her pen window. She never closed it and always had her curtains wide open. I stood up and walked over to her bed. Of course she was still sleeping. I looked at her face. She looked so peaceful, and the drool dripping across her face and onto her pillow really added to that effect. I wish I could sleep without having to worry about Raphael coming in. I have to sleep with one eye open. I brushed a strand of hair on her face behind her ear. She shifted on the bed, facing the wall instead of me. She cleared a spot on the bed when she moved. This must be her inviting me to her bed. Right. I dropped my backpack next to her bed and slipped under the covers next to Carly, wrapping one of my arms around her. My wolf wagged her tail with happiness. She really loved Carly, which made me happy because I really loved her too. Don't get too excited though. I'm not a lesbian. But if my mate rejects me, he'll have Carly. Right now, it's not the same, my wolf said, judging lie. I chuckled to myself. I guess she was right. There's nothing like the bond you share with your mate. Your other half. I yawned and draped my leg over Carly. I guess I was still sleepy. I closed my eyes and snuggled into Carly. I could sleep peacefully now. There was no need to worry about Phi-L coming after me while I was sleeping. Everything became fuzzy, and next thing I knew I fell asleep. I awoke to a screaming Carly, and next thing I knew I was on the floor. I let out a loud groan and sat up. What the hell? Carly. I rubbed my tired eyes that were being blinded by all the sun seeping into Carly's room. That's exactly what I was going to say. I thought you were a fucking rapist or something. She yelled as she threw a pillow at. I reacted to slow and it hit me in the face. I picked it up and quickly stood up. I brought it behind me and aimed to hit Carly with it. She quickly grabbed another one of the pillows on her bed and got into position as well. I ran to her and smacked her with my pillow. She hit me back, or at least attempted to. I blocked her hit with my pillow, then smacked her again with mine. We were both giggling and laughing, until I snatched her pillow and I was the only one left laughing. I tossed her pillow to the other side of her room and continuously hit her with mine. She got a hold of my pillow and tossed it. We both watched it fly out her window. We looked at each other with a surprised look on our faces, then burst out laughing. In between laughs, to my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Carly, you're so stupid. How the fuck did you throw it out the window? We continued laughing, both on the floor around. I grabbed my stomach as it was starting to ache from all the laughter. Suddenly, her door opened and we both froze. We shut up immediately, but once we saw who it was we burst out laughing again. This time for a different reason. What's all the commotion? Her older brother Anthony asked with his arms crossed. He was only 2 years older than us, but he acted older than his age. Well, most of the time. He still lived at home since the college he attended was nearby. He didn't know why we were laughing. I'm assuming he hasn't looked in the mirror yet. He had a huge gawn across his whole face with stuff coming out from the tip, which was drawn on his forehead. Carly and I calmed down, but when we looked at him again, we continued laughing. I managed to say in between laughter, can't come, and like the huge on Anthony's face. Carly and I continued laughing, and his expression went from serious to shocked. He ran out Carly's room and I heard the door to the bathroom open. He screamed and ran back into Carly's room. Carly, he yelled angrily. Oh shit. She gulped, finally ending our laughing fest. She took my hand and yelled, run. We both sprinted out her room, running right by her brother. Carly, you little shit. He yelled from behind us. I could hear him running after us. We ran straight to her parents' room. Carly swung the door open and ran in, jumping on both her parents sleeping, leaving me behind at the entrance. AGHH. I heard her mum Iris yell, causing Carly's dad Carlos to fall off the bed. I heard quick footsteps behind me and quickly turned to be tackled by Anthony. I let out a groan. Seriously. Is this turning into a daily thing now? Yesterday Nathan and today Anthony. You helped her, didn't you? I put my hands up. Or should I say down since we were lying down? In surrender. He looked at Carly and glared at her. She jumped and hid under the covers, where her dad was previously lying down. What's going on here? Iris asked, looking at Carly. When she looked at Anthony, she also burst out laughing. Mom, he yelled into my face. Carly's dad stood up from where he was lying on the ground, and when he saw Anthony he began laughing and fell back onto the ground. Everyone was laughing, except for Anthony. He angrily got up and stormed out of his parents' room. Carlos placed a plate with a stack of pancakes in front of me. I thanked him and looked around. Everyone else was sitting down at the dining table. Even Anthony. He attempted to wash off that was drawn on his face, but since Carly drew it with permanent marker, it was still slightly visible. He was angrily eating his pancakes while glaring at Carly, who didn't even notice. She was too busy eating her dad's famous pancakes, looking as if she had nothing to worry about. Iris was looking at Anthony, trying to hold back her laughter and not spit out her pancakes. Meanwhile, Carlos had barely sat down, next to Iris, and began eating. He was actually playing with his food, then eating it. I was surprised when I first heard he was the cook of the family. It's not because he is a male. It's because of the way he acts and plays with his food. It hurts to admit. But Anthony is the most normal person in this family. After breakfast, Carly and I went back to her room to get dressed. She told me she wouldn't let me wear my sweats and hoodie to school, which made me sad since they were very comfortable. Carly might be weird, but she has a great sense of fashion. She's always wearing something fashionable. Even her pajamas are stylish. She disappeared into her closet for a good 10 minutes. While she was in there doing who knows what, I picked up the red nail polish Carly had painted on my nails a few days ago. I didn't really like the color, but Carly forced me down and painted my nails without my consent. I didn't like painting my nails, since it didn't look good on me. Carly thought otherwise and decided my opinion didn't matter. Carly finally came out with a stack of clothes. She dropped them on her bed, and when she saw me she began yelling, "Horan, you know how much trouble I went through to paint your nails, and you're just peeling it off. I didn't even want you to paint my nails. Just be happy it lasted this long," I retorted while peeling off the last of the nail polish. She let out a sigh and began going through the clothes she took forever to get. She pulled out a cropped pink shirt and held it up. "This shirt would look good on you," she said while smoothing it out. "You know I don't like pink." I whined. She sighed and pulled out a black long-sleeve shirt that was cropped just below the belly button and had a lace up the neck. "It's this one or the pink one." She motioned to the two shirts she was holding up. "Well, obviously the black one," I said matter-of-factly. She then put it to the side and pulled out some dark. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Denim skinny jeans and held them up. "These are okay, right?" she asked as she looked at me. "Oh, are they gonna fit?" I looked at her short legs, then back at her. She was short, so I doubted any of her jeans would fit me. "You just called me short," she yelled, being over-dramatic again. "No, I didn't." "Well, at least not directly," I said as she glared at me. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." "Are they gonna fit?" I asked again. "They're too long, so they don't fit me. They'll probably fit you." "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." She replied, still a bit angry. She threw them at me, followed by the black shirt, but I caught both of them instead of getting hit by them. I smiled at her, and she just turned around crossing her arms. I went to her bathroom to change. I reluctantly took off my comfortable sweats, then my warm hoodie. With a lot of trouble, I put on the skinny jeans. My foot went through one of the rips and I almost fell backwards trying to get it out. Once I pulled it out, I carefully slit my leg through until my foot passed through the bottom. I zipped them up then buttoned them. Ugh, that was hard. Wait, does the hole we put the button through on our jeans have a name? It's the hole. What do you call it when you put the button through the hole? That's so weird. I pushed my weird thoughts away and slipped on the shirt Carly gave me. It was way easier than the skinny jeans. I looked down at the outfit. The jeans actually fit me perfectly and they went well with the shirt. Carly's really good at picking outfits. I put my shoes back on. They were the classic, simple black Adidas. I was finally finished. That surprisingly took a long time. I usually get dressed in under 4 minutes. I opened the door and found Carly pulling down the shirt she had just changed into. She was wearing high-waisted black skinny jeans and a cropped, navy blue top. Once again, she had a perfect outfit on. When she saw me, she squealed, "Yay, you're wearing one of my creations. See, they even make ugly hoes look pretty, hey?" I said angrily as I crossed my arms and glared at her. She picked up her backpack and skipped out the door. From the hallway, she yelled, "Hurry up, Horen, or we're gonna be late." I sighed and followed her out the house after grabbing my own backpack, running into an irritated Anthony. I let out a chuckle and ran when he started chasing after me. Chapter 3. My teacher gave me a tampon. Carly and I were in the hall running to our first period of the day, which was our second period. I know that's confusing. By the time we got to her car, it was 7:57. We only had 3 minutes to get to school, which was 10 minutes away. She broke the speed limit by like 30 miles per hour, even at the school zone, and she almost ran over a group of preschoolers. She just swerved around them since they were taking so long. We got the worst parking spot all the way in the back and had to go even further to get to the school. Carly was running behind me, and when I heard a thud, I immediately stopped. I turned around and saw Carly lying with her face to the floor. "Horen, you're not gonna make it. Go on without me," she yelled dramatically. "Carly, you know these floors are really dirty, right? You're laying on the spot Gary throws up on when he drinks his milk even though he knows he is lactose intolerant." Carly quickly jumped up and yelled, "EWW." I shook my head in disappointment and grabbed her hand, pulling her to our class. It was our second period, which was math. "To our agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." We had gym. Then I had Spanish II and Carly had basic Spanish. Yeah, she's failed that class twice already, and if she fails again she might not be able to graduate. Once we entered, our math teacher, Ms. Garcia, stopped explaining whatever it was she was talking about and gave us the look. "Both of you are late again. It seems like you two want detention," she warned while crossing her arms. "EGH, who wants detention? Especially when you're either watching us like a creepy old pedophile," Carly ridiculed. The teacher looked furious at Carly's remark, so I grabbed her arm and dragged her to her seat. "Behave, Carly," I commanded before walking over to my assigned seat. I sat down as my desk buddy watched, amused. Look who finally decided to show up. "Can it? To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." I retorted. He laughed, but was scolded by the teacher. "Shut up, Julian. I'm fucking tired of you kids. Always disobeying and breaking the rules," she yelled angrily. The whole class burst into laughter. Why does everyone still laugh whenever she curses? Trying not to laugh at his own joke, this one kid called David said, "Miss, gas why? You know, I've been having really bad gas lately. I think I'm gonna need to fart." Before he could say fart, a book went flying across the room and hit him on the head. His face slammed onto his desk, and everyone went quiet. David was moving, and I began to wonder if he was dead or not. Oh well, not like I care anyways. That's what he gets for trying to be the class clown. Whoever opens their mouth is next. Now open your books to page 238, she yelled. Everyone obeyed, scared for their lives. I pulled my backpack in front of me and opened it. Shit, my book's not in here. I didn't have time in the morning to put it in my backpack. I looked around the room frantically, and my eyes met Ms. Ms. Garces YS. "Where's your book?" she asked menacingly. Well, looking for an excuse. She got mugged on her way to school. They stole her math textbook and her tampons. Right. Lauren. Julian butted in, trying to help but making things worse and awkward. Yeah. 'Cause even thieves need to learn algebra. Am I right? I said awkwardly. Ms. Farts looked at me, then went to her desk. She opened a drawer and pulled out tampons. I awkwardly watched as she made her way towards mine and Julian's table. The whole class was trying so hard to hold in their laughter. Meanwhile, I internally died of embarrassment. After she handed me the tampons, she whispered, "These are the good ones. They go all the way in." She walked back to her desk, and Julian and I looked at each other, traumatized. He opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came out. He let his face slam onto the desk, and I did the same. After the bell rang, I gathered my things and quickly shoved them into my backpack. Miss Farts walked towards me with more tampons, but I sped out of the class, leaving Julian behind. Carly was outside the class waiting for me. Newer, I heard Julian scream from the classroom. "What do you think we're gonna do for gym today?" I asked Carly. "Probably basketball. She's been making us practice dribbling." Carly replied as we both ignored Julian's screams. "Well, tell Coach C. Rennie had some business to take care of with the teacher," I said as we began to walk to gym, and Carly nodded. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." We were standing inside the gym, dressed in, waiting for our coach to come back with the equipment we needed for today when Julian walked in. Glaring at me, he stood next to me and nudged me, pushing me to Carly, causing her to nudge me back, harder than Julian. "What am I? A punching bag?" I yelled at them. "Well, more like a pushing bag," Carly teased. "It's your fault for leaving me with Ms." She went into specific details while explaining what a period was. She even gave me a tampon. She told me I could find interesting ways to use it. Julian yelled, "That's your problem." I looked over at Carly, and she was drooling. "How can he look so good in his gym uniform?" Carly squealed. "Well, he looks just like anyone else in the uniform. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." About to say that he looks good in anything. What the hell's wrong with me? That's not true. Have you seen Gay then in his gym clothes? The shorts are too small, so it looks like HES wearing booty shorts. Carly grimaced, remembering him in his shorts. "EW, don't remind me. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Disgusted. Archie's such a loser. Why do we hang out with him anyways? The real question is, why does he hang out with us? Replying to Carly's question with a question. I can't believe people actually like him, and that one girl from our class actually asked him out. EW, if I didn't know any better, it'd say you were jealous. I teased while raising an eyebrow. "Don't be stupid." "Horan," Carly yelled and smacked my arm way too hard. I felt a nudge at my shoulder but ignored it and continued to talk to Carly. "I wonder what your kids will look like. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Picking on Carly? No way in hell. She yelled as I laughed at her. I felt a harder nudge on my shoulder and turned around yelling, "What?" My annoyance turned to shock when I realized the whole class was looking at us, including Coach Ziren. She had her arms crossed and was tapping her foot impatiently. "Can you two repeat what I just said?" "I don't use sheepskin condoms," I replied nervously, causing a few people to laugh. She sternly said, "No. And since you two weren't listening when I gave instructions, you get to play rock, paper, scissors to see whose team you'll be on. Whoever wins goes to Benson's team and whoever loses goes to Culver's team. That should keep you guys apart." Everyone in our class was looking at us, but I felt one pair of eyes more strongly than the others. I looked over, and Daniel was staring at us while biting his lower lip. I guess he wanted Carly to be on his team. Carly probably wanted to be on his team as well. I looked at Carly, and she was looking at me with pleading eyes. "Okay, you'll let her win." I nodded at her and her face lit up. "Are you gonna do it or not?" Coach C. Wren asked impatiently. Carly and I stood parallel to each other and got ready for our match. More like I got ready to lose and she got ready to win. She always chose rock. So I'll choose scissors. Rock. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Scissors. Everyone chanted in the gym. I looked at Carly's hands, then looked at her in shock. She had the same expression. She chose paper. Why would she choose paper? I noticed Carly's expression change from surprise to angry. No, Carly. I started, but was cut off when I was dragged to Daniel's team. Wait. Carly. She turned around and walked to her team with her head hung low. My wolf whimpered, and I felt so bad. Okay. Everyone. We'll be playing a full-court basketball game. Losers get a D for the day and winners get Anna. So give it everything you've got. She yelled, trying to motivate everyone. She blew her whistle, and the game started. The gym was immediately filled with the sound of squeaking shoes and the bouncing of the ball. I was just following the person holding the ball lazily, not doing anything. I kept looking over at Carly, who looked so dispirited. She wasn't even trying. She was just walking behind her team. But to be fair, she always did that anyway. Hey you. I turned and saw some guy whose name I didn't know from my team standing behind me. You've better stop fucking around and actually try. This is the only class in passing, and I'm not going to let your lazy ass make me fail. Before he could finish, he was pushed to the wall, with a pair of hands gripped tightly around his neck. Daniel, watch your tone. Edgar, I wouldn't talk to her that way if I were you. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Warning him. His friend Lucas ran to him and placed his hand on his shoulder. Daniel, calm down. He yelled. He wouldn't calm down. And the guy he was strangling looked genuinely scared and like he was about to die. He was human. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I ran to him and placed my hand on his arm. I felt him jump a little at my touch. And I did too. I felt sparks when we came into contact. Must be static or something. Right. But then why was my wolf so happy? Just let him go. I urged desperately. He hesitated for a while, then dropped the guy whose name I can't remember. He fell onto the floor and began coughing, placing his hand on his neck. Daniel looked at me, and I immediately pulled my hand away from his arm, causing my wolf to whimper. He just stared at me, and I stared back, unable to look away from him. Lucas coughed awkwardly, and we both looked at him. We should continue our game, he said shyly. That was adorable. I didn't know he was the quiet, embarrassed type. Daniel nodded and ran back into the game, following the person with the ball. I looked over, and whatever his name is was still on the floor, now glaring at me while rubbing his neck. Cute. You'll show him. I joined the game as well, now actually playing. The person currently holding the ball was a girl from the other team. She was awkwardly bouncing the ball, not knowing how to run with it. I ran to her, and she tried to dodge me, but I snatched the ball and ran wild, dribbling it. I turned around and started taking the ball to their side of the court. Ahead of me, there were a few people from the opposite team. Then more of their team members came in from the side as well. Next thing I knew, I was surrounded. There was nowhere I could go where they wouldn't take the ball. I looked over the shortest person blocking me and saw Daniel. He was open and was signaling for me to pass the ball to him. I did, and he caught it. While everyone else was distracted with me, he took his chance to shoot. The ball made it in, and everyone from our team cheered. He walked back to me with a wide smile and put his hand up. I gave him a high five and I felt it again. The sparks were evidently there. I knew he felt them too. The look on his face made it obvious, but he just turned away and went back to the rest of our team. I spent the rest of the period wondering what the hell that was. Chapter for nicknames. During lunch, Carly wouldn't talk to me. She was pouting while eating her nasty school lunch. Today, they served us what looks to be macaroni and cheese. Don't get me wrong, I love macaroni and cheese. But what they gave us just looked like a big yellow blob. It also smelled like rotten farts. Carly, I didn't do it on purpose, I explained, but got no response. I looked at Nate, but he just looked at Carly and shrugged. I gestured towards Carly, but he just shook his head. I gestured towards her more urgently, and he let out a sigh. She won't respond to me, but maybe she'll respond to Nathan. Carly, he said softly as he scooted his chair closer to her, placing his elbow on the table to get a closer look at her. She jumped when she saw how close he was, and kicked his chair away, causing him to fall over with the chair. Stay away from me, you pervert, she yelled while pointing at him. He groaned in pain before getting up, but immediately fell back down. Oh, he yelled painfully. Carly immediately got up and ran to him. She kneeled beside him and looked at him worriedly, regretting what she just did. He looked at her, and they just stared at each other for a good minute or so. I got up and kneeled down next to Nate. Are you okay? I asked worriedly, breaking their now awkward gaze. He looked at me, then at his leg. I followed his gaze and noticed that his leg was twisted, caught in between the part where you sit down and a part slightly above it used to support the chair. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm, I said while looking at his leg, feeling his pain by just looking at it. I tried pulling the chair to get his leg out, but he winced and immediately stopped me. He yelled in pain. Seriously, Nate, man up, will you? You got hurt by a chair, a fucking chair. Just let me pull your leg out, then you can cry all you want, I yelled, just trying to help this hopeless guy out. I pulled the chair as gently as I could, but I could tell it hurt. Carly was just watching silently, which was unusual for her. She looked like she really regretted what she did. She must be felt really bad. Thuck. I sighed and stopped trying to force his leg out. It was swollen and turning red. For fuck's sake. Nate, how did you get your foot stuck in a fucking chair? To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelben, heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. Well, I didn't kick myself into the chair, he yelled back, causing Carly to look down. I held the two wooden parts of the chair that his ankle was stuck in. With my werewolf strength, I pulled them apart, breaking his leg free. When I looked up, Nate and Carly were looking up to me surprised. What? Acting as if I didn't know why they were surprised. How did you? Nate started, but trailed off. It wasn't that hard. I just had to pull a little, I replied with a straight face. Before they could say anything, one of Nate's soccer friends ran to us. I think his name was Benjamin. Are you okay, man? He asked worriedly, looking at his swollen leg. Yeah, I'm fine, he replied, acting as if he hadn't been screaming in pain earlier. Benjamin helped him up, then looked at us, in taking him to the nurse. Carly and Nathan exchanged a look before he was taken away, with them gone. I looked at Carly, who was looking down at the floor. I didn't really understand what was going on. Normally she would be laughing if Nathan got hurt, but it was as if she was the one who got hurt. Does she actually like him? I was just playing around earlier. But doesn't she like Daniela? Carly, we finally got rid of him, huh? She said cheerfully and sat back down, continuing to eat her food. Is she trying to pretend that nothing happened? I saw how they were looking at each other. Where did all this come from? Did I miss something? They were acting normally yesterday. And what about Daniel? Didn't she have a huge crush on him? I pushed all my questions away when the bell rang. Carly threw away her food and went straight to class. There's definitely something they're not telling me. I went to my next class, Spanish II, and sat down at my usual seat in the back. I pulled out my sketchbook and continued a drawing I had started the other day. Oh, did I forget to mention before that I loved drawing and painting? I was sketching a wolf that had light brown fur with stains of white and black on its coat. as well as darker shades of brown. It had piercing, light blue eyes that were surrounded by light brown fur, then by a layer of black. The wolf was absolutely beautiful. I had a dream about the wolf last week. I didn't know who it was, but the image of the wolf remained in my head. Its blue eyes seemed so familiar, but I couldn't quite remember where I had seen them. I continued sketching its beautiful fur, when someone plopped onto the seat next to me. I quickly closed my sketchbook and looked over. Daniel was sitting next to me. He smiled at me, then looked forward when the substitute teacher started talking. I guess our Spanish teacher was still in the hospital. She's been there for about a week now, since she gave birth a few days ago. The substitute said, "Okay, everyone, as you can see, your teacher's not here today again, so just work on something, or at least pretend to in case someone walks in." She sat down at our teacher's desk and pulled out her phone. I opened my sketchbook again and continued drawing, but now I was wary, trying to hide it with my hands as I drew. Just when I was starting to get back into my drawing mood, I was interrupted by Daniel. "Have you started on the packet, Mrs. Judo has left us?" he asked as his eyes shifted to my sketchbook, causing me to close it. Normally, I would have yelled at anyone who interrupted me while I was sketching, but it didn't even bother me. I was too busy getting excited over the fact that he talked to me. It sounds like I have a crush, which is really bad. I'm going to find my mate soon, so I should just forget about it. More importantly, Carly has a huge crush on him. I wouldn't do that to her. Anyways, it's probably more admiration than a crush. Right. Besides, we've only spoken once, and it wasn't even an actual conversation. And was he mad at me because I found out he liked Carly? So many questions. I'll just try to respond normally. Well, I opened it, but Cal didn't continue after instructions. My mind just wasn't ready. "So, basically you read one word then decided to give up?" he asked with a slight smirk on his face. "Well, I wouldn't say I gave up. I'm just saving it for later. And by later, I mean the day before it's due." He laughed as he brushed his hair back, which I found extremely sexy. I suppressed a smile and waited for him to speak. "I don't procrastinate, since I'm used to dealing with problems when they first arise. I have to be that way, or else I would cause a lot of trouble," he stated as he pulled out the packet from his backpack. "He deals with problems when they first arise. She is making it sound like 8 years an alpha or beta or something like that. Well, I wouldn't know. My uncle never let me go to any of the pack meetings. I have no idea who the alpha of our pack is or where the pack house even is. All I know is that the name of our pack is Silvercoat Pack. I snuck into the back seat of his car once when he told me he was going to one of the meetings, since I asked him if I could come along but he wouldn't let me. He noticed me on the way there and turned the car around. When we arrived back home, he hit me, and it was the spanking that a parent gives to their troublesome kid. It was him punching and kicking me repeatedly until I bled and passed out, unable to take any more. That was the first and last time I ever tried to follow him to one of the meetings. I was too afraid to try again, scared that I would get beaten to death. Thinking about it still makes me feel a bit uneasy. Maybe I should be more like you. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing increased enthusiasm. Thinking of how irresponsible I am, I watched as he flipped to one of the last pages. Done. HES almost finished. He started working on the packet, and I began to wonder if I should work on mine too. I still have a whole week. I'm fine. I'll just do it another time. I opened my sketchbook and continued my drawing. Once the bell rang, I put my sketchbook in my backpack and zipped it up. I stood up and was about to leave when Daniel caught my arm. I felt the sparks once again, and my heart began to race. I quickly turned around to face him. What is it?" I stuttered, looking to where our skin connected. "I'll see you tomorrow, when you'll finally understand and I won't have to hold back anymore," he said in a low voice, wearing a serious expression. I just stood there, staring at him in confusion. What was he talking about? You'll finally understand. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Is something going on tomorrow? And what did he mean by I won't have to hold back anymore? Is there something I didn't notice? Or something HES not telling me? Why the hell is everyone keeping things from me? Carly and Nathan. And Daniel too. Is there something I don't know about that I should know about? I watched as he left the classroom, stopping at the entrance but continuing without looking back, before I had realized it. The classroom was empty. All the students were gone, and I was left alone in the classroom, standing there dumbfounded. I left the classroom with a million thoughts racing through my head. The next time I looked up, I had reached the parking lot. Carly ran to me and pulled my arm, dragging me to her car. Hurry up, Hoen. Everyone's already left. She yelled as she pushed me into the passenger seat of her car. She was acting normal again. I guess that's good, but she seemed to be really upset earlier. And Nathan seemed a little out of it too. Jeez, all this teen drama is stressing me out. Carly started the car and turned on the radio. The song Believer came on, and Carly turned the volume up all the way. She began singing loudly and jumping up in her seat, which by the way is really dangerous. I turned the volume back down and tried to talk over her loud music. Hey Carly, do you think I can stay at your place? I really don't want to go home today, I asked as I played with my thumbs. Oh, sure. I was gonna ask you if you wanted to stay at my place anyway since tomorrow is, she started talking, but got cut off when a dog jumped in front of her car. She immediately stepped on the brake, causing the wheels to screech. She quickly got out and kneeled down in front of the small dog. IWWW, you're so adorable. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to almost run you over. Come here, little fella. I don't bite. Well, actually that depends on who I'm dealing with. But if you won't bite, I won't either. She ranted as she tried to pick up the puppy. Carly, what are you doing? Leave that puppy alone, I commanded, sounding like a parent again. She ignored me and continued approaching the dog slowly. Just when she was about to pick him up, he growled and bit her hand. Carly yelled, but immediately leaned down to bite the dog's paw. I said I wouldn't bite if you didn't. You little bitch, she yelled as she bit harder into the dog's paw. I heard him yelp and quickly got out of the car. Carly, what the fuck are you doing? The little slut started it. She snarled as the puppy continued to yelp in pain. I ran to them and pulled the dog away from Carly. I held him close to me, away from Carly. I gently stroked his head, causing him to relax. Yes, acting innocent. Don't buy his little act. Yes, pure evil, she warned as she pointed at the dog. I released him from my hold, and he barked happily at me before running to another dog on the other side of the road. They cuddled together when they reunited, then began playing with each other. You were saying? I asked as I raised an eyebrow. Carly looked away and crossed her arms, causing me to laugh. Her lips tugged up into a faint smile. I stood up and offered my hand to Carly. She took it and I pulled her up. We both got back into the car and continued our drive to Carly's house. When we arrived, we were greeted by her dad. Heinifasser. Why, oh, Lauren, I didn't know you were gonna come back. Come on in. Opening the front door so we could both come in. I giggled when I heard Carly's nickname. I've heard her parents call her that before, but it's always funny. Whenever she wakes up, her hair is all poofy and all over the place, so they started calling her Mufasa. They have a whole bunch of other silly nicknames for her, and for Anthony as well. I really love her parents. I wish I had a family like hers, or a family at all. Don't laugh. Lumpy Laurie Pooh, you're not safer, she yelled as she pointed a finger in between my eyes. Carlos laughed at my nickname, and I glared at Carly. Hey, don't take it out on me. We all agreed to it. Even Anthony, she admitted, putting her hands up in surrender. I looked over at Carlos and Wind. Really, Carlos? You too? He laughed nervously and said, well, girls, I've got a check on the meatloaf. If you'll excuse me. He ran out of the living room into the kitchen. I rolled my eyes and Carly placed her hands on her hips. She's such a wimp, she stated while shaking her head. So it's this about lumpy Laurie Koo, font size. Oh no you didn't. No one calls me short. Fat Lauren, she barked. She tackled me, and I landed on my back with Carly on top of me, pressing her elbow against my neck. I quickly flipped our positions and held her arms down so she couldn't move. It was obvious who was going to win. I am a werewolf after all. GH. I give up, she yelled after I slightly twisted her arm. I cheerfully got up and skipped upstairs to Carly's bedroom. I threw myself onto her bed and pulled the sheets over me. I waited for Carly to enter the room, but she never did. I guess he'll just take an nap in the meantime. I closed my eyes, and only then did I realize how tired I really was.